Good morning from the office here at the Newberry Church of Christ. I'm Jess Carter. I'd like to ask a question and answer a question for you today, and that is just what is God? Sounds like a funny question, but today, maybe in our time, it's a question that is coming up more and more. Uh, I can remember when I was a young man just out of Bible college and went to a small town in western Kansas that visiting in the town, I went down to one business and was getting acquainted and got to know the people. There was a young man that worked for them. He came in and we was all talking and he basically, knowing I was the new preacher in town, he asked a question. He said, "What is God?" Boy, I thought, well, this is easy. I know that question. I said, John 4 and 24. Uh, where there in John 4 and 24, it says that God, God is a spirit. Here in John 4 and 24, it says God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. Wow, I was proud of myself. But the young man looked at me and said this. He said, but what is God? I said, well, God is a spirit. Okay, where does God come from? And I guess I probably blinked like, somebody, just what kind of question is that? I said, well, God has always been. He said, I don't understand that. He said, I have a hard time with that. Today, we have people having a hard time just where did God come from? Many of us basically was taught in public schools the Big Bang Theory. In the theory that, the universe was almost like a cloud of dust. And in that cloud of dust, all of a sudden there was an explosion and boom, and then the universe started. Today, in education, the theorists are still saying that the universe started at a point and it expanding. It's going to expand to one point and then it's going to retract, they say, back to its beginning. I kind of believe that. And that I believe that God in the beginning, in John, but go to Genesis 1, where it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. God was the point where the universe began. God was the point, and it was the point where the universe began. Both man, earth, the galaxy, all began at the point that we call God. It wasn't a spark that nobody knew what was, among dust that nobody knows where it came from. I believe in the eternal spirit of God. In the beginning, God created. In the beginning, God created. God even created time. It's as important and almost part of our human natures that we believe in God. People that today say that they are atheists are like the communists in Russia. They did not believe in God of the Bible, but they tried to say their God or human beings came into being because of some kind of outer space creatures. That we are from higher beings from outer space. I'm not sure where life exists. I guess that's a skeptic or maybe a radical. I do not know where life exists in our universe, but I do know where all life in our universe came from, and that is from God. I know where every life in all the universe and everything that's created is going to be held accountable in a day when it starts to go back. Everything is going to go back to that point, and that point is God. And we must remember what God is. If you want an interesting book about the nature of God, it's the Bible. If you want an interesting book about the nature of God that's in the Bible, look at the book of Job. The book of Job is a book about the nature of God, where Job starts out with the devil, Satan, coming in and in the presence of God. And Job is a righteous man. And the devil says, oh, he's righteous because of what you have given him. And the devil says, no, if you let me take that from him, then he will not follow you. So the story is, of course, that he lost all that he had. He lost his wealth. He lost his children, his home. He had his wife still with him. And then his friends came to him and tried to tell him he needed to repent because something bad has happened and it's his fault. They didn't understand God. Everything that's bad that happened is not because of God. If I told you that I understood God, then you probably shouldn't listen to this program anymore. I don't fully understand God. I'm trying to live so that God will understand and forgive me. I know more about God because knowledge of God comes from his word. I do know in the book, and I'd like for us, if we have time, to read there in Psalms 1. Well, I think the important message for us to know is, blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stands in the path of sinner, nor sit in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law he meditates day and night. This is what we must do. Meditate. Job ended up having greater wealth that he had at the beginning, at the end of his life. But the great thing was, at the end of his life, he was able to go and be with God. We can too. Jesus said, John chapter 14, I go to prepare a place for you, that where I am, there you might be also. God be with you till we meet again.